Can you imagine a place with perfectly pleasant weather and 300 days of sunshine per year, but also with low taxes for foreigners and especially expat retirees? A place where you can live longer and healthier. People there live more than in Norway or France or Sweden. An island that is one of the safest countries in Europe, and they have world-class healthcare. A country with no language barrier because nearly everyone there speaks English. And the best part, they want expats, especially expat retirees, so they make it easier for you to move there. What if I told you there is a place with all that, where you can live with peace of mind and still enjoy a high quality of life? Malta is one of the smallest countries in Europe, but its benefits are huge. That is why more than 137,000 foreigners have already made this island their new home. I had been there a few times, and took the opinion of numerous residents on why this island is so special, but also on the obstacles of an expat living in Malta. If you are not careful, things can get sour. So in this video, you will discover the pros, cons, cost of living, and the best places to live in Malta, one of the brightest Mediterranean jewels. We start with the pros, and the first one is the lower taxes. Retiring in Malta isn't just a dream, it's a smart financial decision. Malta offers a very appealing tax system for retirees, especially through the Global Residence Program, GRP. With this program, foreign residents pay a flat tax of 15% on income brought into Malta from abroad. If you don't bring your foreign income into Malta, it isn't taxed at all. This is a big benefit for anyone living on foreign income because they can choose when they send money to Malta and optimize their taxes. There are some requirements for this program, which I will clarify in a few minutes, but they are very straightforward. In addition to this lower income tax, Malta doesn't have wealth, inheritance, or estate taxes. This means retirees won't be taxed on passing wealth to their heirs, unlike many other countries. For comparison, the minimum inheritance tax in the UK is 20%, and it might go as high as 40%. In Malta, it's 0. Expats also benefit from Malta's double taxation agreements with countries like the UK and the US, so they won't pay taxes twice on the same income. But then you might be asking, okay, Malta has relatively low taxes, but also does Hungary, which has the same flat tax rate as Malta for foreign income, 15%. We covered Hungary in a previous video, by the way, so check it later. So what makes Malta such a singular place is not the lower taxation, but a few other special qualities, and among these qualities is the next positive thing I want to talk about. The weather is nothing short of perfect. Malta enjoys over 300 days of sunshine a year. The average early temperature in Malta is around 23 degrees Celsius, 73 Fahrenheit, which provides an ideal climate for those looking for an active and outdoor lifestyle. Malta has a classic Mediterranean weather, which is considered one of the best for us humans, and it's present in just a small amount of places on Earth. Other than the Mediterranean region, you can also find this climate in Australia or California. But differently than California, in Malta, you will not need to worry about a fentanyl junkie breaking into your car. Now going back to the pleasant weather subject, it makes a great place to live for people who hate cold weather. The winters are also mild with average temperatures between 10 and 15 degrees Celsius. You can still enjoy outdoor activities during the winter months such as walking, hiking, and cycling. The warm weather also supports those with conditions like arthritis, where cold weather can exacerbate symptoms, and availability of sunlight increases the body's production of vitamin D, which is essential for bone health and immune system support. The mild climate also reduces the need for expensive heating systems in winter, offering savings on utilities. The weather also encourages social interaction and community events, which is important for retirees seeking an engaging, healthy lifestyle. However, be aware that Malta's hot summers can be a potential downside if you are sensible to heat. During the summer, especially in August, it can get very, very hot, and the humidity can feel oppressive. The next positive aspect of Malta is that it's a compact and convenient island. At just 316 square kilometers, Malta is one of the smallest countries in Europe, which makes it incredibly fast to travel around it. Distances are relatively short, making it easy to travel from one place to another. It's possible to get from one end of the island to the other in under 2 hours, make it easy to get around or to access certain facilities like hospitals or the airport in little time, unless, of course, you face one of the biggest monsters in the island, traffic congestion, but more about that later. The convenience is not limited to the island itself. Due to its tourism vocation, the country is well connected to the rest of the world by air and sea. Malta International Airport connects to numerous destinations worldwide, and it's served by budget airlines like Ryanair and Wizz Air, so you can hop on a flight to European capitals for 30-40 euros round trip. If you prefer to travel by sea, departing from the island, there are many ferry services to Italy, especially to Sicily. So if one day you get bored, just take a ferry and in 2 hours you'll be on the sandy beaches of the Italian city of Pozzallo. Another positive thing of Malta is the quality of private healthcare. According to the World Health Organization, WHO, Malta's healthcare system ranks 5th in the world in terms of quality and accessibility. The country offers a mix of public and private healthcare, and resident expats can access public services at little to no cost. For expats coming from countries like the US, where healthcare costs are notoriously high, Malta offers significant savings. For example, one of the best hospitals in Malta, which is among the best in Europe, is the St. James Hospital. There, a gastric bypass surgery will cost you 6,500 euros. That is less than $7,200. Do you know how much the same surgery costs in a good hospital in the US? Something between $20,000 to $35,000, or 3 times more than in Malta. So it's a huge difference. The next pro of Malta is that it's extremely safe. In the entire year of 2023, there are only 3 homicides in Malta. It's one of the safest countries in the world, with an homicide rate of only 0.5 cases per 100,000 residents per year. For comparison, the homicide rate in France is 3 times higher, and in the US, 12 times higher. There is, however, one place where Malta is not that safe, and this place are the roads. But about the traffic issues, I will talk in a few minutes, because now it's time for the most peculiar of all positive things in Malta. There is no language barrier. Don't get me wrong here. Malta has its own language, the Maltese language, which happens to be the only Semitic language in the European Union. However, Malta has 2 official languages, and the other is English, which is widely spoken. 88% of the population is fluent in English. In Europe, only the United Kingdom and Ireland have a higher percentage of English speakers than Malta. English is also used as the language of instruction in many schools and universities, and many government or healthcare institutions use it too. Saying that, I strongly recommend you to try to learn some Maltese. It can be very helpful, and it shows that you are making an effort to integrate into the local culture. Locals will truly appreciate if you speak even just a few words of Maltese with them. Now, I will tell you the not so good side of living in Malta. I have gathered these from the experiences of residents and tons of data. You can access all the sources by subscribing to my Patreon, and by doing so, you have many other benefits. Tier 2 members can get my 3 best-selling ebooks on living abroad, while Tier 3 get a one-on-one call to discuss their plans to move abroad. But hurry, this offer is limited to the first 20 subscribers. Go to patreon.com/the_expat to join. Let's begin with the cons of living and retiring in Malta, and the first on the list is the cost of living. The thing about the cost of living in Malta is that it's not really expensive if your basis of comparison is an American city like Chicago, which is 52% more expensive than Valletta, or large European capitals like Paris, which is 47% more expensive than the Maltese capital. However, when you compare Malta with other Mediterranean destinations like Catania in Sicily or Malaga in Spain, Malta is more expensive. But as a local told me, the cost of living is relatively high, but it's possible to live a comfortable life on a budget if you choose the place where you live carefully. This is what a resident told us about how much you need to live in Malta. Open quote, "In my opinion, the budget to live comfortably is around 30,000 euros per year. You'll be able to rent a decent apartment and have some spending cash. Might even be able to save some money based on your habits. A lot of people live on less." End quote. While being a small island, Malta has a relatively diverse range of housing both for sale and for renting. And in some cities, you can find really attractive options for less than 1,000 euros per month. I'll review these cities in a few minutes, because now it's time for one of the most famous downsides of living in Malta: the crazy traffic and the congestion during rush hours. The first time I went to Malta, my wife commented, open quote, "Hey, here does not look like Europe somehow," end quote. She didn't say that because of the architecture or because of the language, but because of the way people drive. If you're used to the neat traffic order and rules like we find in many European countries, driving in Malta might be a shock. Since I had already driven in Naples and southern Italy, traffic in Malta looked very similar. You must take care and have some good reflexes, but the driving style of many residents is not the worst part. Malta is one of the smallest and most densely populated countries in the world, with a population of over 500,000 people packed into just 316 square kilometers. Traffic congestion is a frequent issue. As of 2021, there were around 400,000 vehicles registered in Malta, nearly one vehicle per person. Traffic congestions are nearly everywhere, but especially close to the capital, Valletta. On my last time there, I almost lost my flight, because a short trip from the town of Sliema to the airport, which was supposed to take just 35 minutes, took twice the time due to heavy traffic congestion. The third negative point is the bureaucracy. Bureaucracy in Malta can be slow and inefficient. This can make it difficult to get things done, such as opening a bank account or getting a visa. Some expats also mentioned that they had difficulty dealing with the Maltese tax system. Remember when I told you about the advantage of the Global Residence Program, GRP? While the tax advantages are really attractive, there are some requirements one must fulfill to be part of the program, including either purchasing a property valued at least 275,000 euros or 250,000 euros in Gozo, or renting a property for a minimum of 9,600 euros annually, meaning 800 euros per month. This is not a lot, and soon I'll show you that despite being a small island, Malta has some really interesting offers of real estate. These offers are all in the 2 best places to retire in Malta. Before we review them, I would like to ask a small favor. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. The first city that residents recommend for expats planning to retire in Malta is Sliema. This is one of Malta's top destinations for expats due to its combination of convenience, lifestyle, amenities, and proximity to essential services. Located on the northeastern coast, Sliema is famous for the Strand, its main promenade, lined with restaurants, cafes, and retail outlets. One of the key benefits of living in Sliema is its access to healthcare. The city is home to several clinics and is just a short drive from Mater Dei Hospital, Malta's largest hospital. The St. James Hospital, which we mentioned previously, is also located in Sliema. The town is also well connected by public transportation, with numerous bus routes linking it to other parts of the island, including the capital, Valletta, just 15 minutes away. Another advantage of Sliema is that it's one of the few places in Malta that are really walkable. This is what a local told us, open quote, "I live in Sliema and I live without a car. Yes, it's walkable. Everything you need is in 20-30 minute walk radius. You can also easily visit Valletta by hopping onto a ferry if the weather isn't bad." The seafront location of Sliema is at the same time an advantage and a disadvantage because such scenic and privileged surroundings are good for the eyes but bad for the pockets. Yes, Sliema is not among the cheapest places in Malta, especially closer to the sea. Still, if you go a bit farther from the seaside promenade, prices drop considerably, and it's possible to find good options for housing for affordable prices. Let's imagine that you are moving out from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a place where the rent of a one-bedroom apartment costs $1,314 per month or 1,200 euros. What can you afford in Sliema with the same money you would spend in Pittsburgh, 1,200 euros or less? If you want to get fancy and have a sea view, you can rent this 65 square meter apartment just a 2-minute walk from the Tigna beach, and it comes fully furnished. The price? 1,150 euros. It's the average price you would pay in Pittsburgh, but with a much better view. and much less violence since Pittsburgh is 30 times more violent than Malta. If you don't mind living a bit farther from the seaside, you can find much bigger apartments for this price, like this 100 square meter apartment with a rent of 1,100 euros per month. If these prices already sound good to you, be aware that there is another place in Malta that is much cheaper, and it was the most recommended by locals by a large margin. However, despite being in Malta, it's not on the main island where are located Sliema, Valletta, and the airport. The best place to retire in Malta is a neighboring island called Gozo. And to say that might raise some polemics. See, Malta is not really just an island but an archipelago of 3 inhabited islands, and Gozo is the second biggest island of this archipelago just after the main island of Malta itself. There is a huge difference in population density between the two islands. Malta Island has 246 square kilometers and around 510,000 residents. Meanwhile, Gozo Island has 25% of the size of Malta, 67 square kilometers, but a much smaller population. Around 33,000 residents only, or just 6% of the population of Malta. So the main island has almost 1,700 people per square kilometer, a number that puts it among the 10 most densely habitated countries on Earth. On the other hand, Gozo has a much lower population density, close to just 500 people per square kilometer. Gozo is not a desert island, far from that, but it feels way more empty than the island of Malta due to having fewer people per square kilometer. It's also much more quiet. In fact, this is a point that many residents listed as an advantage, since Malta's main island is considered a bit noisy. Gozo offers a serene environment that is perfect for those seeking tranquility. Meanwhile, on the downside, people who move to Gozo tend to feel not very welcome by some of the locals, called Gozitans. This is what a resident told us. Open quote, "I am Maltese from the main island, and my husband is Irish, and we moved to Gozo. The quiet is by and far the best thing about Gozo for us, as we moved to get some sense of peace and quiet that we're missing. We've had some trouble with some Gozitans being rude, but we also have met some really good people here. Like any place, it's luck of the draw." End quote. Another advantage of Gozo is the lower requirement to qualify for Maltese residence through the Global Residence Program. In Malta's main island, you would need to buy a property valued at least 275,000 euros. In Gozo, this threshold is smaller, 250,000 euros. If you need to visit the capital for any reason, Gozo is well connected to Malta via a regular ferry service. The ferry has on average 16 departures per day, and the trip between the island just takes 45 minutes. Gozo's main town is Victoria and has almost 7,000 residents, but there are 10 other towns ranging from 1 to 4,000 residents, so the population is quite evenly spread across the island. One of Gozo's key benefits is affordable cost of living. Rent and property prices in Gozo can be 30 to 40% cheaper than in areas like Sliema or Valletta. With the same 1,200 euro budget we use it to search for rent in Sliema, you would be amazed at what you can find in Gozo. For 1,000 euros, you can rent a 3-bedroom apartment in a seafront location, fully air-conditioned, and with 2 ample balconies in case you decide to sunbathe. Going a bit into the countryside of the island, to a village called Munchar, you can rent a beautiful, recently restored townhouse meters away from the village square for just 800 euros per month. Now let's say you want to live in Malta using the Maltese Global Residence Program and enjoy all the low taxes and other benefits we listed before. For this purpose, you must buy a property costing at least 250,000 euros. So what can we find in Gozo for this price? If you want to live just in front of the sea, this 120 square meter 3-bedroom apartment in the town of Jabuk delivers you exactly that for 300,000 euros. The second example is this 3-bedroom apartment in one of the most beautiful villages of Gozo, Heinzjelen. It's even bigger, with 150 square meters, more than 1,600 square feet. It has 2 balconies and is fully air-conditioned. And all that for just 275,000 euros. This is the equivalent of $300,000. So this apartment with a sea view on a scenic Mediterranean island cost the same as a townhouse halfway from Chicago to Gary, Indiana. I leave the choice between these two for you. As I said before, Malta might not be the cheapest place in the Mediterranean, but surely has its benefits. Do you know which place is very similar to Malta in terms of weather and quality of life, but much, much cheaper? Southern Italy. And we ranked the best places for an expat retirees in 8 different regions of southern Italy, from Sicily to Campania. To discover some of the most spectacular places in these regions, check this video here at your left.